And
That's
I
what I'm
was
on. I'm riding a
riding that
nickel AR,
wheel.
basically custom built. I cut the
Mhm.
top out of it to add another 900 watt hours. And honestly, it is the best thing since sliced bread. Having that weight on the top, unbelievable control. I don't know how to describe this, guys, but like when you have an extra 900 watt hours top dead center of a unicycle, it doesn't not just applying to Nicholas. Another friend of mine experimented with this years prior. And he told me that he did it with a monster. He put a packed top dead center and it had the same exact effect. It has this feeling. It's hard to describe, but it's like, okay, without it, when I'd hit a pothole, it would more of I would have to personally resist more of that pothole. But when the
Yeah.
mass is top dead center, not out to the sides, but like centered, that's a key factor because it basically acts like a dampening factor. So you hit a pothole, and that is the algorithm can push against that battery and it can push against the tire. Sorry. The algorithm can push against both the battery on the top and the tire on the bottom. And it's like, so it's not me pushing against it anymore. It's the mass of the device pushing against the pothole.
Gotcha.
And so when your mass is further out and up, you get a different problem. See, when it's so far out, now you have mass radially far out and you have a gyroscopic effect. And I think that's not as ideal. Really, you want it as close to the pivot center of your device as possible and top dead center.
Yeah.
And if you get that, like,
I
honestly,
love it.
this
I love
single weight placement change is up to my game more than anything I've done in a while. And so that's one reason why the renders that I showed of the custom unicycles had a battery in the top dead center, because based on the advantage that I found personally trying this configuration. People might say, center of gravity. Well, which center of gravity and where do you want it and why? It's like there's a lot going on here. Hey, I like your comment, dude. Safety features above all else. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I feel you. I think it's like a three-sided thing. Like there's design flaws that can cause safety issues. There's production flaws like QC that can cause, safety issues. And then there's like, I don't know what the third thing I had that popped into my head a moment ago was, but at least there's two sides to it.
Right.
So you've got how does it actually, on paper, does it have all the functionality to properly be safe, right?
Hmm. Right.
And safe is a relative term. So I think of it like we've got some of these Shermans coming out that have, I should say, Leaper-Kim wheels that have field weakening. This is a fantastic feature that should be thought of as a safety feature. And I don't understand why they don't kind of default implement it, because the way I look at it is that field weakening is a technology that allows you to get more speed and power out of the exact same motor. I mean, yeah, I think it actually does have a higher power advantage, because the thing is that the reason why these things just suddenly cut off is because the motor, if spun at an unloaded speed, will reach an upper limit. And with
Hmm.
field weakening, this essentially allows you to overcome what that upper limit is electrically. Without getting too far into it, you can think of it like an automatic transmission, sort of,
Right.
but happening all electrically. So, these are concepts that Vesk has had for some years now. I've been running field weakening on my unicycles for about 3 years, I think.
Wow. Okay.
So, and this allowed me to take extremely old technology, like first generation unicycles. I'm talking an M Super V2. If you look that unicycle up, it was the first 14-inch unicycle to come out, not 14,
Yeah.
excuse me,
I know what you're
18,
talking about.
had a 14-inch rim. And so this wheel stock would cut off at about 22 miles per hour. And I added a Vesk controller to it, and I was able to get it to go to about 35 miles per hour.
Wow.
And
Big
and
difference.
and yeah, and that's all field weakening. So there's a better battery pack as well, but the battery pack itself did not just add that kind of speed. And so there's basically, the theory is that the unicycles have been progressing for many years, and
Mhm.
and they haven't. I have taken Gotway controllers, Kingston controllers, pictures of these things, and showed, I think, about around 10 different electrical engineers at this point, and I can't get a single one to take me seriously. Like, they look at these controllers and they're like, "Are you joking? Like, is that real?"
Mm.
They look at it because it's not that it's dysfunctional. It's like I had a conversation with somebody today, and they're like, the magic inside these things is that they actually work. Like that is the surprise from an electrical engineering standpoint, is like people look at this stuff and they're like, that's not the right way to build a motor controller. We're not even talking about self-balancing.
Right.
Just pure motor control. They have a long ways to go. And
that's coming from engineers.
Yeah, that's just on an engineering level. And
Wow.
so if you look at motor controllers developed in the West, they have a completely different concept. There's just to touch on the issues. It's like, for example, electrical isolation, distance between components. There's certain there aren't specific regulations you have to follow, but there are good practices that aren't being followed, and that bothers me. That's a serious safety problem, right? Yeah, frightening news. You want to hear something else? The beep isn't. The beep is a myth. Okay, just keep leaning, guys. No, I'm kidding.
No, yes. Please, I want to hear that.
The thing is about the beep is that it's not actually these things, especially given the number of devices out there. I would say in general, you should not trust it, because you should be basing your riding on the feeling. And if you've been riding a unicycle for a while, you should pay attention to what is going on when you hit that upper limit. If you're really pushing to the point where a beep would engage, then you have two options. A, you can pull back immediately, and it depends on who you are, depends on how you ride. You may or may not be capable of doing that. But the other side of it is like, why do I say the beep isn't real? Well, it's based on duty cycle. Duty cycle fluctuates based on voltage. So as you're accelerating, the voltage goes down, and you have to have more duty cycle to keep the wheel going at that speed. The duty cycle can essentially be not a linear relationship to your speed. And so if they have a system that beeps based on a linear relationship, then say any number of real world scenarios. Like I've had this really happen to me. Like for example, I got my Nikola. Half the battery pack, the weld broke apart inside, and so half my battery's disconnected, the other half is working. And no beep, and it just started pedal diving on me at about half of the acceleration it usually would. And this is what I mean. It's like the beep never came on, and I would have just fallen if I hadn't pulled back.
Right.
And so the thing is, the beep is not how stable and consistent a measure of your safety margin that people think it is. And so this leads to a lot of confusion. It's not a one-to-one relationship. And so they try to add some safety margin, after that. But, anyways, tangent. But yeah, if you want to talk about frightening news, that's right there with it. So my future vision of this problem is enough power that you're not really running into this problem like a cliff. See, what's happening with a lot of these designs is that you're accelerating so hard that suddenly the power is lost and you fall. And I'm looking at it like, I'll get to that question, Stan, in just a moment. I'm looking at it like the power delivery can be tapered off. Okay, you don't need to suddenly lose your power. It can be more gradual over a longer period of time, so that the feeling of riding and the feeling of that experience will give you time to mentally react that something's not right. I need to stop accelerating or I'm going to fall.
Right.
This is the human side of these algorithms, is that a lot of these engineers, they're looking at it from a very technical standpoint. They're saying from a mathematical standpoint, balance looks like this, right? And I look at it from the other side, is that yes, there's the math, and that's really important, but there's also the human, the ergonomic, the motion, how the motion is actually too fast. So when you pick up your wheel off the ground and it free spins, it's spinning faster than you could ever actually, in reality, lean forward. Like the gravity would be impossible for human, right? And so these programs and these algorithms that the Chinese are creating they're very linear, they're mathematically driven, but they don't really fully take into account, the human aspect. Humans will only move so fast. Gravity will only move so fast. And these equations, these are not included in their equation. And that's the main thing, where you get all this weird behavior when you try to do jumps with it, these weird pedal dipping behaviors. All kinds of these things can be sourced back to something in the control theory that doesn't align with human expectations.
Gotcha.
And so that's something that I really see the future of unicycles. The algorithm side is untouched. People don't have a clue how much more advanced it can get. It can go so much further than what they imagine right now. They're like, oh, it's level. It seems really good. It seems really stable, really fast, right? Just wait. Just wait till you get on one of these things. And, in early versions, it'll be these simple models of how a human moves. The human can only move so fast, right? But in future models, I want to do something that is, this is way out there, significantly after actually producing a unicycle, but I like to do something that learns, something that actually has a per rider tailoring on the algorithm where it knows your behavior over, the lifetime of owning this device, and it can map to you specifically. So
that'd be nice. That would be nice. One thing that I notice now with manufacturing, and they're just banging out these wheels. I mean, it seems like every month or every month and a half, there's a new wheel coming out. And what they're doing, it's like they're appealing to the senses of riders: speed and battery. That's what I notice right now. It's like, I'm sorry, three things: speed, battery, and wattage. It's just like the wattage just keeps going up. Now it's at 168 volts. I had said before, I don't even think 100-volt wheels were completely tapped out. I don't. People can argue me the fact on that. I still think a 100-volt wheel can rock and roll. That's just me. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more. But again, speed, voltage, and battery. Weight is a big issue. The wheels are just getting heavier and heavier. And I'm just like, guys, just take it down a notch. Like me, I can ride a heavy wheel. But you get to a point where, do you really want to be lugging around a 150-pound wheel, 120-pound wheel, trying to put, you know what I mean?
I follow you, man. I'm following.
Yeah, so,
and let me explain it like this. Okay, in the space of all possibilities, those are three things they could focus on, right? And so there are a myriad of possibilities that they're not thinking about, and the innovative ways that you could change the unicycle design that are just, not within the scope of how the Chinese are thinking. And what I mean by that is that, there's very incremental improvements. And while that's not a bad thing, it has led to a stagnation. And a lot of the distributors are stuck with these intermediate generation wheels that is messing up their profit margins, messing up their ability to sell it, messing up their ability to buy more unicycles from the manufacturers. And they don't think about the problem like that. So, basically the production line, the rate of change on the production line doesn't make sense. LibraChem is the only one that has a sane production release schedule. And I'm surprised they've been hitting a lot of bangers. Almost every wheel they produce is really good. And I don't even know why the Abrams failed. I have one in my storage unit. I've never messed with it. And I, to this day, want to find out why they are so infamous, because from the outside, it looks great. Right. It's like this thing is, I think that's a software problem. Honestly, I think the whole reason the Abrams failed was a software problem. I don't know that for sure. Mm-hmm. They say it's a motor problem, probably to make their customers feel better about it. But I really think it's a software problem, We
got EUC Loser. What's happening, brother? Jose is in the house again. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Green Master Mike, what is going on? Man, this is turning out all right, man. Hold on one second. I don't want to miss these questions. Devo here says, I respect the beeps.
Yeah, that's a good plan. I'm not saying don't respect the beeps. I'm saying it's a myth, okay? They're not as stably a measure as people think they are, okay? You should respect the feeling. Feeling. You need to feel this device, be as connected with it as possible. That will be your biggest safety feature, I promise you. If you can feel something's not right, some bolt is loose, that will save you. You need to be paying attention to this stuff. Your suspension suddenly changed? Okay, figure out why. Don't wait till it breaks, right?
It's like driving your car. You can usually tell when something's off in your car when you drive it. You're in a thing all the time. I mean, you can tell by the sound of the tire. You might have low tire pressure, anything. Sound coming out, a ticking coming out the motor. That's how we have to react when we're on our EUCs. The same feeling like when you drive, hey, something's up. Same thing when we ride. It says, how do you rate the QC amongst all the current manufacturers?
Equal, almost equal.
Okay.
The majority of their failures are in design problems. It's the design quality issues. So their QC departments, as far as I can tell on this side of it, I worked actually in the repair department for a unicycle manufacturer, a unicycle distributor before. So I've touched a lot of the different models as well as actually visiting their factories. And to be honest, I don't think there is a real noticeable QC difference across any brand that's available today. Actually, the only self-balancing brand that actually stands out on a QC level is One Wheel. And I don't even ride One Wheels, okay? So it's like, yeah, I mean, if you take a One Wheel apart, you look at how these things are made, and like it's on another level from almost every EUC. I mean, I think the Lynx is the only unicycle that's impressed me in years. And it's impressed me to the level of, wow, they hit a basic unicycle. Like in my mind, they haven't hit innovation yet. It's very similar to what I wanted when I bought my first unicycle. It's finally getting closer to that, right? You know, in my head, it's like my expectations of if you go to the dirt bike industry or any other well-established industry, there's a whole nother level of premium attached to the basic product. You know, the finish, the quality level, you go out buy a Suzuki, Yamaha, whatever. It's not. Buying a Gotway is similar to buying any Chinese e-bike. You're going to feel the same if you pull either of them apart. If the unicycles out there satisfied me completely, why would I bother building my own company, right? It's like I'm in this, number one, because I want it to be better. You know, I want there to be a better product, something that I can ride, something that can, more intimately react to my body, more, feel like it's a real part of me more than it does already. And so it's like, those are the kinds of things that drive me to do this. And then there's the other side of it where it's like, logically, I need a way to do it, right? And so that's where the investment comes in. We need investors looking at this from a business perspective. And I agree. I don't mean to fault the people or the groups that I'm about to mention, but a lot of these unicycle distributors, they are electric unicycle enthusiasts, not businessmen.
Okay, I can understand that.
And this has hurt our industry too, is that, half the people representing it, they're doing it because they love it. They're not necessarily making money at it. And this perpetuates the manufacturing cycles. Mm-hmm. And so there's this bias to what already exists, and people look at it and they say, well, this is how it's already made. And I'm like, well, I mean, it could be different, right? So
I get what you're saying.
Go ahead.
No, I get what you're saying 100%. I mean, you're dropping some gold nuggets. It's like,
maybe I was a little bit too harsh to say all the manufacturers QC are the same. I haven't been to Libre Kim's line in recent years, so I don't know what it is nowadays. But from the outside, I'd say that statistically, if you only have to focus on like 5 products, what's your chances of missing a detail compared to trying to focus on a Gotway lineup? You know what I mean? Right. And so it's like, why are there 4 versions of the Master? What makes 4 versions of the Master make sense? Okay, That is design failure. And they are iterating, trying to figure it out. But they're iterating in production, not in prototype. Who does that? Like, who iterates in production? No, you iterate in prototype, and then you make production.
Well, that's another case where wheels are coming out, and basically the riders are the testers. So it's just like, let's make the wheel, ship out the demos, whatever, and then they'll figure out the problems. And I'm saying to myself, it's kind of backwards. It's like, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, I've seen at least 50 unicycle crashes in person, not including my own, from like watching them happen. And I'd say probably more than half are device failures.
If you understand probabilities, then you are in one of 2 categories. Either A, you have been lucky, or B, you've been careful. So most of the people who have no problems with their wheels are usually gentle with them. They don't go up and down stairs. They're like basically babying these things. But then again, I know this guy, a friend of mine, he babies his wheel and design flaw with the power button. And it's like, he was not rough with it. It never crashed, never hit the power button. It's already having power button failures. It's like, why? Like with Gotway products, they kind of work until they don't. I don't know if that like sounds stupid, but like they just keep on going or they just don't, you know? Like it's like, oh, with my Nicola, I've got 16,000 miles on the original controller, okay, and it just keeps on and going. That controller is outlasted every other part of the unicycle. And I've also heard of people who've had their controllers blow up after 5 miles or 30 miles or 100 miles. And so it's like I think a lot of it is there's they will eventually age out. I think that my controller will eventually fail from pure age, but I don't. How far is that out? How many thousands and thousands of miles can you go before it fails? Right. So I think that it's like if you ever take it in water, you're gonna notice the same thing. Like it's gonna screw up the first time, or it's gonna be fine forever. Within reason. And that's one of those where you kind of, if you're buying something for the first time, you're the one finding out all the quality control issues on that specific model. And so this is one thing that I have a big, it makes a lot more sense to buy used if you know how to fix them, because somebody else already figured out if it's a good model or not, that specific one.
Yeah.
So the used market doesn't get enough cred. I think that these new wheels are way overhyped sometimes. And,
the last wheels, before I bought the T4 Pro, I got an EX20S. Got a mega deal on that freaking thing, man. I mean, that's like, say that thing's like a Lincoln Continental Town car, like an old. I swear it's just comfy, man. Got a great deal. I got that for like $1,600. Picked that up, and then I got a. I'm trying to look and see. I'm looking around the corner at the freaking wheels here. I'm sorry, and I got a Sherman, a really good deal too, man. And I was like, that was one of the best deals ever. So I would highly recommend getting used wheels.